meeting of the Harnett County Commissioners Board. I'd like to welcome everybody that's here today on a cold Tuesday morning. Hopefully this will not be a long drawn out meeting. And at this time, I'm going to ask Commissioner Matthews to lead the pledge and have you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's pray. Father, we do thank you for this brisk morning, the opportunity we have to gather. We thank you for those who are serving. We thank you for those who are here to be a part of government process in our county. We thank you for the many blessings you bestowed upon all of us, especially our county. We would pray that you would be with us as we go over the business this morning and deliberate on decisions going forward. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Commissioner Matthews. All right. Let's see. Mr. Rouse.
Oh, yeah, John's not in. I think really this is a simple issue related to approval of some monies in order to conduct the installation of 2 negative pressure rooms. And I don't know for sure if, my understanding, I think, is that this is money that would be coming from ARPA. Oh, funded from, COVID I-43 monies.
If you like, we can hold this until he gets here, and
Sure.
we can go ahead. You guys ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We'll move on to item 4, development services, talking about some upcoming public hearings.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jay Sykes, Development Services. Good to see y'all this morning. Coming up on next week's agenda will be 2 text amendments and then 2 rezonings. The first rezoning is on 401 there in downtown Pleasant Springs, if you will. It's about 4.5 acres. It's a long-standing commercial or non-residential use. Of course, there's the older structures there that have been there for many, many decades. And then what's been there for a while is a legal non-conforming auto sales. The intent for the owner is to just to rezone it for future flexibility and usage. However, they want to still continue to operate the auto sales as it is now. Again, it's about 4.5 acres. They only primarily use the front section, just a couple thousand square feet. There's public water and public sewer out there. Public sewer would come in from the back. They'll probably, if they expand, may try and look into that. Right now it's being served by a private septic. There's a larger development in the back of that. That's Woodgrove. Also, this site is currently under violation due to the location of the cars on the right-of-way. Then also there's some junk vehicles and some other scraps that have accumulated over time as well. They cleared a lot of the back buffering. So there's several violations that are they've been cooperative with working with staff to comply. However, that came up quite a bit and was quite a point of contention during the planning board meeting. Everything from where the cars are, they essentially almost hang over the curb into the roadway, let alone being inside the right of way. The regulation is at least 10 feet back from the right of way, and then of course also the salvage area in the back, for lack of a better term. However, staff did recommend approval just based off of the longstanding uses of the property, as well as compliance with 100% compliance with the land use plan. At the meeting, one of our planning board members, she's an alternate, she lives in the area right across the street, so she had a few questions, so she ended up recusing herself to ask a lot of questions to the applicants. The applicants were not there, but they were represented by legal representation. and there was a lot of issues that she brought up, mainly in reference to safety concerns due to the location of the cars, again, protruding into the right-of-way, consistently violating that requirement. Staff has been out there several times to ask them to move them back. Access to the site when new vehicles get dropped off or vehicles that are sold gets picked up. She said often that the hauler is in the roadway. Customers parking just on the road there, which is US 401. Overall appearance to the site and the discomfort of knowing the type of business that is there. Then also another adjacent property owner talked about the areas in the back, the appearance of the site. Planning board members, their discussions were in reference to the rezoning is consistent to the land use plan designation. Rezoning is consistent to other rezoning requests of legal non-conforming businesses that wanted to comply and have a better chance of flexibility in future growth. The owner is responsible for the existing violations, which when remedied should help the appearance of the site. And rezoning of the property would give the county more flexibility for compliance issues as well, which is a big thing that because right now, again, we're looking at it as a legal non-conforming, but when they if they rezone commercial and they want to expand, of course, the whole site would look completely different. And then, of course, if businesses were to expand or new businesses were created, it goes from a car lot to something totally different, then the full UDO compliance would be required. I think also included was a packet from Greenhawk Development. They're the folks that are working on the larger Woodgrove behind. They voiced some concerns. It's my understanding that they will be here Monday night as well. Basically, just again talking about the appearance of the site. But staff is available for questions on this one. There's a little bit more detail on that just because there's a big discussion on. It kind of got into the existing use of the property and the existing violation versus the overall overspending rezoning of the property, which is theoretically two different stories. But they kind of do comply, and sooner or later they're gonna intersect, right?
I got a question then.
Yes, sir.
So with the rezoning to commercial and then having these violations, does the commercial zoning have any, I guess, benefits for them to not be like in compliance, or to be in compliance instead of being in violation? Like are they trying to backdoor kind of some of the things they're doing, will it be legal now?
No, sir. Yeah, that's a good question. No, sir, it would not. And actually, the violation came about when we started just looking for information for the staff report, and that's how. Well, as far as we noticed the clearing of the site and all the debris that was behind it. So no, it would not benefit them. The violation would stand either way. If the rezoning was turned down, the violation would still stand. They'd have to be compliant with the site.
Yeah, but in the future, would that allow them to, if they've been violated?
Take advantage of it? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I think what you're saying is actually, what you're saying is by zoning it commercial, is it going to make it better going forward?
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you're saying?
Or is it going to make it, or is it going to help them, continue the, what they're doing?
It's a car
Yeah.
lot. It's a car lot, and we've had some
Okay.
back and forth on whether or not how long it's been there, and so it's in the situation where it's a non-conforming use right now. So by zoning it commercial would bring that side of it into conformance. So yes, and it's one of these areas that long term it's always had a non-residential use. It's just zoned residential. So I think yeah, there's a benefit. Will it help this specific situation? Not really, because they're still going to be there how they exist. But at the same time, long term, yes, it will. If that makes sense.
And so either way, if they extended, if they intensified their use or just remain what they have, there's still some compliance things that they could do to make it better in appearance, even if they didn't expand their building. Let's say it is a zone commercial, they didn't expand their business. Either way, they're gonna jazz up the appearance of the site. But I know it's a lot to take in, and then, it's tough to kind of probably separate your minds, from how it looks and then, what the citizens may say, and then looking at it long term. But so far, either way, the violation will not be superseded on anything. Yes, ma'am.
So it seems like even though they gave them the warnings and citation, whatever, because it's not up to standards. So what do? Just ignore it?
Well, so yeah, what they have doing is, staff would go out and either send a letter saying, hey, you're in violation of the location of the front cars, basically, and then or
I
either
know where it's at. I run by there frequently. So I understand what you're saying, but I'm not understanding why they have not even responded to it.
right, and what they would do, they would temporarily respond to it. They would move the cars back, and then they would move them right back up front again.
Okay.
And I think they're saying that, we're hidden behind these trees and we're hidden behind these buildings. But, the speed limit does lower right there on 401. So, and there's a lot of cars. So either way, someone can tell there's a car lot. But you're right. And that was one of the concerns of the citizens, as far as their compliance. So we're hoping that, we can, if we get them to comply and then also install that front buffer, that will legitimize how far out they can come. Because theoretically there'll be some trees there or shrubs or something. Does that help, Ms. McCoy?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
helps.
but it's a very good question. We're not sure why they continue to.
It helps them to let me know that they're just totally ignoring what the county is saying.
Yes, ma'am.
So, thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions? All right, let's move on to the next one.
All right. The other one is, a theme that we have going on. It's kind of, overall kind of like this one and several that we saw last month. It's also a rezoning from RA20R to commercial. It's located in Barbecue Creek Township, right there on NC 87 at Olivia Crossroads. It's the long-standing, it was a gas station, a grill. Also behind it is kind of a quadplex that's still attached to the main structure that has the post office, a computer repair shop, a physical therapy type massage place there. And so this individual has bought the property, had seen it for a while, and just hopes to revitalize it and bring it back to use as some sort of commercial use. Again, it's a long-standing non-residential use. It's been like that for many years. Staff did recommend approval based off of the history of the uses. It's in the land use classification of a rural center development node, all right there at the Olivia Crossroads. So it's very compliant with the county's land use plan as well as the NC 87 corridor. The planning board did recommend approval unanimously, and no one spoke in opposition to this either.
Any questions about this proposed rezoning?
The two text amendments are it's basically just making the UDO compliant with new state regulations. One is in reference to, let's see what we have next is the system development fees. Is that right? I'm sorry, enforcement. So looking at enforcement, the general statutes and the new state law now requires any sort of zoning violation to be strictly a misdemeanor versus criminal action. We can still proceed with our processes into UDO. Legal can still proceed if UDO regulations aren't complied with. It just essentially turns into misdemeanor and fines versus criminal action. Is that correct?
Civil, not misdemeanor.
Civil, not misdemeanor. So 100% civil and not criminal. So basically, within this text amendment, we're just striking the section where it says criminal prosecution. That's all it is, and it's still the civil citations and that information is still intact in the ordinance.
So we're making this agree with what the legislature has approved by,
Yes, sir, that's
by
exactly
amendment
right.
to the general statute?
That's exactly right. Yes, sir. Just
Okay.
in 21, their fall session, that's when it was approved. Session Law 2021-138, Senate Bill 300. So,
All right. Anyone have questions for staff about this proposed change? All right.
thank you, sir. And the last text amendment is also in reference to some General Assembly new legislation. It was adopted at the end of last year in response to several impact fee lawsuits that were filed. This is in reference to how Harnett Regional Water would classify their, used to be called impact fees, now it's called system development fees. So within the ordinance, we would just basically just changing the word where it said impact fee to system development fee and just adding that definition. And then there's new legislation on how these are applicable. For residential, it comes in at the building permit side of things. For commercial, it comes in during the site development side of things. So again, just to make the UDO compliant with the North Carolina General Assembly general statutes.
Okay. Anyone have any questions? All right.
Appreciate y'all's time this morning.
We'll see you Monday night.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Mr. Rouse is not available, so Mr. Price, though, did have a conversation with him and can present the information. So if you'd like to go back to number 3
Sure.
chair, we could do that.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Hope everybody's doing well. I did talk with John briefly, and what this is 2 negative pressure rooms, and what that is when we have to isolate somebody with COVID, pneumonia, or flu, we have those rooms available. So it's going to be requested in the very near future. He has COVID money available that he feels would be the best use of this, which would be $34,396. It would be 1 adult room and 1 child room. And then when they're not using it for negative pressure room, they can turn around and use it for a regular exam room. So basically, he's just asking permission to move forward with the monies that he has through COVID, something that's going to be required in the very near future.
Any questions for Mr. Price about this?
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. This will be on the consent agenda for approval Monday night. Mr. Tyson?
Mr. Chairman and Board, good morning. Thank you for letting us bring this to your attention this morning. This is a statutory requirement that we report to you as of January 31st, the delinquent amounts owing on real property. So for the 2021 tax year. After your review, we're going to be asking that you issue an order to us to continue collecting these delinquent taxes. What I've done, I've asked Amy Bain, our deputy collector, to come and give you a little bit of background on this, if it's okay with you. We'll ask her to do that. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners, Mr. Trout, Ms. Capps, Mr. Snow, Ms. Honeycutt, and others. My name's Amy Bain. I'm the Deputy Tax Collector here in Harnett County. I've been asked to explain this process of why we report these unpaid taxes that are our lien. First, on real property, the attached tax lien allows our office to satisfy the unpaid property taxes by selling real estate through foreclosure. North Carolina General Statute 105-355A states that the said lien attaches on January 1st annually. So, for example, on the 2021 property taxes that are to fund the currently adopted budget that we're working out of, that lien attached January 1st of last year and remains in effect till said person or owner pays it. So after the tax rate is set, y'all are getting ready to go through that process here in the next few months, and the budget's adopted, the following process then happens over in our office. For example, last July, we billed approximately 66,800 real estate parcels. This totaled a net levy amount of $56.5 million, thereabout. Taxes became due September 1st, and were considered delinquent January the 6th, and forced collections began immediately on those bills. As of the 31st of January, the amount of unpaid real property taxes was $2.8 million set amount, and that is 5.05% of the amount of levy that was billed originally in July. That means our office has collected 94.95%. Since then, till yesterday, we have remaining $1.7 million. So on real estate, we're sitting at 96.87% collected of that. So North Carolina Statute 105-369A states that we are to report this amount to the governing board, which is y'all, and that constitutes a lien on our real property. Section B of that statute states that the governing board orders the tax collector to advertise those liens, and that before that advertisement, we are to give notice to the owners. Well, February the 1st, we mailed out a bunch of delinquent notices to those owners who still have a balance outstanding, and told them if they need to have it paid by February the 28th. Because then that gives us the authority to go on and advertise beginning March 1st by statute. But it can happen anytime between March 1st and June 30th in a paper that is general circulation, which would be the Daily Record. We also post it in the courthouse, and we do post it on our website too. So therefore, in conclusion, the report of the unpaid taxes that are a lien on a real property is our beginning process for advertisement of those liens. And the other process is beginning of the mortgage foreclosure process that we use. That's probably the most strongest forced collection effort we use, is when we tell someone we're going to post a sign on their property because they've not paid it, and it goes up before public auction. But that is probably the worst, the strongest effort we do use. So if y'all have any questions, we'll be glad to answer them for you.
Any questions for the staff? I have one question.
Yes, sir.
I saw, I think it was yesterday, that taxes in North Carolina are running ahead of schedule, or projected of schedule again. Is that holding true for Harnett County also?
What, in terms of
Of our collection rate? Yes.
Right.
That's correct.
Overall, yes.
Overall.
Okay, good.
Pushing as hard as we can.
Well, the collections division, they're a modest group, so they don't tend to toot their own horn. But last year, they collected 99.56% of your taxes. So they'll be shooting for that or better this year as well. So if that answers your question.
That answers my question. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. And that's on the consent agenda for Monday night, too. All right, moving to item 6, the Magnolia Building in Dunn. I've had some conversations with Mayor Elmore from Dunn, and what I'd like to do is pull this from consideration today. Mayor Elmore, one of the things that I asked him was to come back to us with a proposal from Dunn as to how they would like to see this handled, whether they want to make a cash offer, whether they want to do a land swap. I told him that I think the board's pretty much in agreement that we're not willing to just outright give them that building, which is what they initially asked for. So until we get get further clarification from Dunn and Mayor Elmore on this, I'd like to pull this and table it for right now. Sort of I guess table it indefinitely. Can we do that?
You won't take a vote today, and that's not a voting meeting, but you just basically, you're not taking any action on it today and not putting it on the agenda for next week.
Right.
Direct the clerk not to do that as opposed to taking a formal vote.
Yeah, as opposed to tabling it, just don't bring it up, right? Okay.
We'll schedule it when we hear otherwise.
There you go. All right, sounds good. Any comments or questions? Anybody disagree with that? Okay. All right. Moving to item 7. Mr. Snow, would you like to address that?
I would. Good morning, Commissioners. On item number 7, we have an offer on county-owned property by the Harrington brothers. Melissa, if you'll pull up that GIS picture, I think would help more than anything. What you own is an approximate 13-acre tract, which is located on Lawrence Road, has Lawrence Road frontage. It's zoned RA 30, and it's in Upper Little River Township. The county procured this property through tax foreclosure many moons ago, basically. So we've been owning it for some time. It's been sitting there not drawing any tax revenue for the county, basically, since we own it. The Harrington brothers, who own a 50-acre tract just behind this property, so they're looking to get this property to get easy access to Lawrence Road, a public right-of-way, initially made the offer of $40,000 on this property. They did that based on the 2017 value on this property at $39,520. So they contacted the county and just basically said, we would like to make an offer to be considered by the commissioners for this amount. Once I had discussions with Mr. William Harrington, who's the leader of the group, basically, I let him know that we were going through a tax reval and that the tax reval figures that would be effective for 2021 and obviously effective for 2022 raised the value of this property dramatically to $78,880. And I asked him on the basis of that reval information, would they like to up the ante, basically? And he said, well, for right now, no, will you just take that to the commissioners? And I didn't advise him. I just basically said, well, I don't know if you're going to get a real positive response, but I'll do whatever you want to do. And he said, well, that offer's on the table at $40,000, and we'd like to see what they do with it. So based on those caveats, I have brought this before you with the information that you see in your packet. Obviously, state constitution, state law requires the county, anytime you own property and you sell it out, unless it's under one of the exceptions to go into another government or whatever, that you get fair market value. So that would be your question. In this offer, do you consider that fair market value? And I guess it comes down to how much credence do you put into the reval process as the commissioners. So this is kind of a test case for this particular board. You've sold some properties in your short tenure, and in each case have looked to the value, the tax value, at least as that getting that minimum amount. But I know in each case you take it on a case-by-case basis, which is your prerogative. So that would be the question to be put before you at your meeting next week, unless you want to give me some other figures to go back to these individuals with to see what they might negotiate.
Any comments from anyone on the board?
Yeah, I definitely think $40,000. Need to probably pull a comparative market analysis on this property to see exactly what the valuation of it would be. I mean, let alone tax value. Tax value really doesn't play any role in market value, though. So I think that we need to get an evaluation done on the property prior. And then we can have a baseline, kind of where to go from there.
Well, one of the things that they do when they are doing the reevaluation is they look at comps in that area.
They do.
I think the tax department can give us an unofficial value, the new value on
Yeah,
this
I think-
property.
I think that's what Mr. Snow's saying, is that currently that is 78,800 is what we're expecting.
Okay,
Would be
that's,
in change in value to that
Right.
property. And so I think by pulling a couple of comps, we can verify that.
yeah. What's the wishes of the board? Do we want to authorize Mr. Snow to look at a couple of comps, 2 or 3? I don't know. What's the normal? 3?
About 3, yeah.
3 comps, and come back to us and we'll set a price.
I would.
That sounds reasonable.
Okay,
Okay, we'll take that directive and come back with more information.
all right. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Item 8, county manager's report.
Thank you, Chairman. I don't have much other than just a reminder to the board that our planning retreat is scheduled for February 24th at 9 a.m. in this building down in the training room. Staff is preparing information to present, and we'll go through it and hopefully narrow down, based on our strategic plan, what our focus needs to be on the goals that you've already approved through the strategic plan, so we can narrow down a little bit what we need to be spending our effort on. So look forward to discussion.
Anyone else have any comments today? Mr. Snow, we don't have need for a closed session, I don't believe.
That's correct.
All right. At this time, I'm going to declare the board in recess. We will reconvene at noon downstairs in, which room is it?
103.
103. Okay. All right. We're in recess.
All right.
Board of Commissioners out of recess and back into open session. I'd like to welcome all the mayors and the managers. Glad to have you all here today. At this time, I'm going to ask Assistant County Manager Price if he will lead us in returning thanks for our food, and we will go ahead and eat and get this meeting started.
Sure. Thank you, Chairman. Good to see everybody. Would you bow with me, please? Father, we just thank you and praise you for this beautiful day that you've given us, Lord. I thank you for the opportunity for the leaders of this county to come together, Lord, and just let everything that we say and do be pleasing in your sight. Lord, we have a lot going on in our county, and just thanking you for the opportunities. I just pray a special prayer for each of our towns and our county as a whole. And I ask that you bless this food to nourish our body and us to thy service. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, sir. All right. Help yourself. We'll go ahead and eat, and then we'll move into the business part of this meeting. Please continue. But again, I want to welcome everyone. I think Representative Penny is on his way. Senator Bergen had told me he would not be able to be here today, and I'm not sure about Representative Strickland. But at any rate, I'm going to turn this over to Steve Ward and let him go walk through this presentation that he has.
All right, can everybody hear me fine? Thanks, Commissioner Weatherspoon. If you remember from our prior meeting back in December, we sort of left that. Senator Bergen wanted everyone to send me their requests, their project priorities for water and sewer for this next round of funding. So I put together a PowerPoint here. It shouldn't take too long, but I'll go through the projects that I received and talk a little bit about the funding schedule coming up. So we'll get right into it. Harnett Regional Water's funding request consists of several projects. The first one is the upgrade to our North Harnett Wastewater Treatment Plant here in Lillington. That plant is currently about 7.5, or it is 7.5 MGD. We want to expand it to by 9 MGD to 16.5 MGD at a total cost now of about $64 million. Our cost, the county's cost, is estimated to be about $27 million of that. Our other partners are the town of Fuquay-Varina, the town of Lillington, and the town of Angier. So there are various funding levels coming from them, and some of their project requests will address those funding totals later. Another project is the Northeast Harnett Regional Water Treatment Plant project. That's 8 to 10 MGD water treatment plant construction in Irwin. Total cost is estimated to be $70 million. So that's an important project for us, naturally going forward, and that's on a longer term horizon. We're going to try to go as fast as we can with that project, but it's estimated now at about $70 million. Another project that our board is greatly familiar with is the Southwest Wastewater Force Main and Pump Station project. That's a project, 16-inch force main construction and a regional pump station enlargement along Highway 87 that'll bring all the sewer flow from the Highway 87 area, Buffalo Lakes Road, Highway 24, Highway 87. We've talked about that area a lot. It's probably got more than enough people, or I know it does, to be a municipality now. Probably in excess of, Matt, you can probably correct me, there's probably 40,000 people out there just in that immediate area.
In the 2.5 square mile range, I've got 32,000 people, so we're just a little bit bigger than Sanford proper and slightly smaller than Fuquay, and that doesn't even include going across 87 or outside of that. So.
And the county's issue there is we've got plenty of capacity in our wastewater treatment plant, in our South Harnett wastewater treatment plant. The facilities to get that wastewater to that plant, that's about 10 miles the way the crow flies just to get to that plant. So this project will upgrade that infrastructure at a cost of about $7 million and allow that area to continue to grow. Another project along the wastewater area, in the wastewater area, is the Buies Creek Coats Collection System Upgrade Project. Total cost there of $8 million. That consists of upgrading the infrastructure between the town of Coates. The county provides sewer collection for the town of Coates, and that improves that infrastructure, upgrades it, and it also upgrades infrastructure right into Buies Creek community. As we're all aware, Campbell has really caused the Buies Creek area to expand. The university continues to grow. Housing in the area continues to be a primary concern, and meeting those needs, the university's needs, the community's needs, and the town of Coates' needs as they continue to grow as well. That project's estimated to be $8 million. Another project, due to all the growth coming down from Harnett County, from Wake County, is the Northwest water transmission project. That consists of a new pump station and a large water line going to the Duncan area to feed our tank that exists in that area. That's an $8 million project. Somewhere about 5,000 lots generally in that area are under construction or consideration right now. So we need to beef up our infrastructure in that area. Another project that the county has prioritized is the Hornet Jetport expansion. We've got water and sewer to the airport now, but we greatly need to expand that because the county plans to or hopes to have the area around the jetport be utilized by commercial interests who will then use the jetport to expand economic development for our county. So this will add water and sewer that's desperately needed in that area, and that estimated cost is $5 million. So just our project funding request alone, $125 million. So any questions about any of those? We can have more. I think we'll just go through what I received, and then if anybody's got any questions, we can address them at that time, if that's okay. Town of Anger sent me their funding request. Certainly the Highway 55 bypass is a big issue to the county and to the town of Anger. The town wants to place a water line along that bypass route, a large water line, and that total cost is $3.1 million is what the town is estimating going forward. Also, that growth in and around Anger, the town is continuing to grow and add a lot of residential housing. It wants to purchase 1.25 million gallons per day in the North Harnett Wastewater Treatment Plant expansion, and it also wants to plan for additional capacity purchases in the next 10 to 15 years. So those are estimated to be $8.2 million.
And Steve, if I could add to that, we
Sure.
just finished a study with our Southwest Drainage for Anger, so we got the results from the consultant, about $3.2 billion of improvements that are being recommended, and I'll get that to you this week.
Okay, so that's a stormwater project, is that correct? Okay, all right. I just listed water and sewer here, but that'll be fine. It is the same pot of money. Town of Anger total project funding $11.3 million. Town of Coates has got some water line projects replacement that they want to have done. One is a replacement project estimated to cost about $700,000. There's also a water line connection project for the town of Coates at about $420,000. Those projects funding total $1.12 million. Just a note, Harnett, the county provides the sewer service for the town of Coates, but the town will greatly benefit from the Buies Creek Coates collection system project that the county's doing and the sewer plant capacity upgrade here in Lillington, because all Coates flow comes to that plant. So those are direct sewer related improvements that will benefit the town as well. Town of Irwin, they're interested in providing project funding for a water and sewer extension project along St. Matthews Road at a cost of about $1 million estimated. Again, the town owns the water and sewer system in Irwin, so these funds and any project construction will need to be awarded to Harnett Regional Water, but Irwin greatly benefits from the new water plant that we plan to build in the city limits of Irwin, or town limits of Irwin, and also the expansion of the plant here where Irwin sewer flow goes to the North Harnett Wastewater Treatment Plant here. So the expansion in that and the construction of the planned water plant in Irwin will bring great benefits to the town, we feel. The town of Lillington, they had some extensive requests, a lot of them to do with water and sewer rehab in the county. They've got a sewer rehab cost estimated at $37 million within the town. Also, wastewater capacity purchase in the plant expansion of 2 million gallons. That estimated cost is $18 million. Also, some water rehab and improvement projects in town, estimated cost $31 million. And they did give me their stormwater improvement cost too, estimated at $4 million. So that total project funding request is $90 million. I did not receive any requests from the City of Dunn going forward. Don't know if they want to address that later or address that now. Just wanted to list the next steps. The General Assembly appropriated $1.69 billion from North Carolina's allocation of the ARPA funds for water, wastewater, and stormwater. $839 million of that has already been directly appropriated. So that leaves $758 million that's non-earmarked. Most of that money is designated for the viable utility reserve, which it will provide grants to utility systems that are labeled as distressed by the SWIA, the State Water Infrastructure Authority, and the Local Government Commission. The town of Spring Lake is a local entity who is being served by the viable utility reserve. The county's in talks with them now about treating their wastewater for the town of Spring Lake. So that's an example. So half of the money that's left is going to distressed water and sewer utilities in the state of North Carolina. Nobody in Harnett County is in that list. Nobody qualifies. No town is labeled as distressed enough to be in the viable utility reserve. The next slide contains a table from the Department of Environmental Quality's website, which explains this in more detail. So you can see up here, if you look at the table, those distressed utilities, about $90 million was originally directly allocated by the legislature to serve viable utility reserve. That leaves $353 million left. So that money set aside to serve those distressed utilities within the state. Within the drinking water reserve and wastewater reserve, this area here, there's 3 different purposes here. The first one is these distressed communities, where $116 million was originally allocated by the legislature. The only town in the county that was included in that list was Lillington. So Lillington has the opportunity to apply for an additional, well, that's the funds that are left. $191 million is left. And I'll talk about how much each town can get, the most they can get in that sort of coming up. But anyway, everybody else, every other town in the county who was awarded or directly allocated any funds is in this section right here. You can see $615 million was directly appropriated from the legislature. There's only $54 million left. That's it. That includes Harnett County, the City of Dunn. That includes the town of Angier. Everyone else who was awarded any funds for water and sewer, that's what's left.
I'll send you this guy.
Now, these grants down here are for asset inventory and assessment and rate studies, merger regionalization feasibility and training. That's not for projects. That's for pre-project grants, like to study to see if a project's feasible, that sort of thing. There's $77 million left to fund from that, grants. And then finally is the stormwater piece. The legislature appropriated $18 million. There's $82 million left. So you can see out of about $770 million that most of us qualified for or was going to be appropriated, there's only 54 million of that left to apply for. Okay? Now, every jurisdiction, with the exception of Irwin and Coates, because the county provides sewer for Coates and water and sewer for Irwin, have to apply to the state DEQ, Department of Division of Water Infrastructure, for their own funding. So I wanted to be clear, it's not something that the county's going to apply for on behalf of the municipalities. Each municipality has to apply for its own funds. That has to be done by May the 2nd. DWI will prioritize and award funding based on competitive project evaluation process. No direct allocations. So I want to be clear again, the money that was provided to Harnett Regional Water, for example, the 3.8 million, that was a direct allocation. So this, now you have to do like always, to get any of the remaining money, you have to apply and be awarded that money based on the merits of the project. Grant awards will be limited to $15 million per utility. Any ARPA funds already directly allocated will count towards a utility's initial award and additional incremental awards. For example, the county has already been awarded $3.8 million from direct allocation. So the max grant we could receive would be $11.2 million. So that's just an example. So in this scenario, I'm not sure the city of Dunn is even eligible to apply for any remaining funds. It may have to be a loan, for example, because they already exceeded the $15 million cap. Now, this analysis does not consider any additional funding other than funds appropriated in the current Appropriation Act of 2021. So that's the budget that was passed prior to July. So that's a lot of information to take in. And so I guess the key points are that, as you can see from the chart, there's not a whole lot of money left for us. I'm not squawking at 54 million. I know that's a lot of money. But remember, every utility in the state's going to vie for that money. So a project's merits are really going to determine who gets it. So one other thing to keep in mind is all this ARPA money has to be spent by 2026. So if you've got a project who's not yet designed, good luck. Because you're going to have to move really fast in order to do this. Hopefully that deadline will be extended because, you know, a lot of the language in here talks about taking some of the appropriations back if the project is not viable in the sense of the money's not being awarded and being expended. I think there's an award deadline of like 2024, Brent, isn't that right? December 31, 2024, the project has to be awarded to the contractors. And so the other thing to keep in mind is with all the money that's in the system right now, trying to find a contractor and someone to do a project that's not really well underway is going to be difficult at best. You better be moving right now, applying first of all, and then moving as quickly as possible in order to get that funding to happen. But so 54 million, except for the town of Lillington, they've got a bigger pot to apply for here. It's still 15 million. They're still limited to 11 point something $million grant because I think Lillington was already awarded 3.1 million. Is that right, Joseph? Something like that, 3.1, 3.2?
Joseph had to leave.
Oh, okay.
That's clear.
So, yeah, so 3.1 million, so they can get about, you know, close to 12 million left as a grant with a viable project. The rest of us have 54 million to apply for. Now, stormwater's in a little better shape. That's not a county function, but for towns, there's quite a bit of stormwater money left to apply and be awarded for. So that's a recommendation I have. If you've got stormwater needs, and most towns do, that's a good area to seek that. But any questions? Again, May the 2nd is the deadline to apply to the state. And if you were awarded money, you should have already turned in your form back the middle part of, or the early part of this month to Diener for, to say what you were going to use those direct allocations for the money that's already been awarded. So I know we've done that, and I'm not sure about other folks, but I think they contacted most towns and counties about what we were going to use that funding for. Any questions on any of this? And that's really all I have, because that's what I received from the towns. That's what Senator Bergen asked me to present. But I wanted to be clear on this part, that I didn't want any misconceptions out there about what money was there. If there's more money, who's going to be appropriated? We've got gentlemen in the room that can address that. But this is what's been awarded so far and what we can apply for and need to by May the 2nd. Any questions on anything? Comments?
Can I get this either in a printed form or email to me?
Sure. That chart is right on Diener's website. It's right on their website.
I sent you this Bible.
Okay.
Well, if no one has any questions, now's your chance. Now's your time to speak up. If not, we will, I thank everyone for being here, and so the, do what? Yeah, do that. Representative Strickland, would you like to comment, or Representative Penny, would you like to comment?
Well, defer to Representative Strickland.
Sorry I'm late. Left Smithfield at 11:15, and there's a lot of construction. I got stopped 3 different times. A lot of good economic development going on in the counties of Johnston and Harnett. But we will be going back into session later in the spring, probably April, and we'll go back in the room and take the members' request and look at the availability of monies and where we're at with the process as far as deadlines and what deadlines maybe we can extend versus what the deadlines have been set by the feds with this money that's come down from Washington. There is additional monies, it appears to be, with the sales tax, inflation eating us up as individual and households, so there will be expanded projections of the monies that we anticipated versus the reality of the monies that are coming into Raleigh. So don't really have a lot of directive or answers this morning, but it is good that Senator Bergen asked for this to be put on paper, and I'm glad to see the monies that have been dispersed versus the other monies that are still available, and it gives you a good roadmap of the areas maybe that you can circle back around and maybe apply for more monies. I'd encourage that. I'd encourage you to continue to reach out to your county commissioners, your state senator and Jim Bergen, your House reps and Howard Penny and myself. Keep us updated of where you're at with your projects. And my hope is that there'll be some more opportunities, like there were when we were sitting down discussing the budget. So, again, there is monies that are still there that have not been dispersed. And I anticipate other monies that will be coming into the state coffers. And I think this one-time money type expenditure for water infrastructure for our counties, our municipalities, getting old pipes replaced in the ground and opening up opportunities for economic development, residential development. I think that's a good thing for us as elected officials in this period of time, that we have the opportunity to serve our citizens, our counties, and our state. So with that being said, I'm always available. My office number is posted, my cell phone number, which always feel free to call me on my cell phone. I'm always glad to talk to folks that call me, and that is 919-632-3200. And if I'm not available in a meeting, please leave a voicemail, and I will circle back around and return your call. But just keep me posted, keep me in the loop, let me know what's going on, and especially if you see things that in the process that you question, that maybe we could, as state leaders, deriving how we spend this money, if there's things that we can do to make the delivery of the product and the monies better, we need to hear that, because we can talk to our fellow colleagues when we're drafting policy or deciding on other issues. That is always helpful. Gives us a platform of trying to make the process better for our municipalities and our counties. So glad to be here. Sorry I'm late, but always glad to be in the county of Hornet any time that there's a meeting. I'll try to get here and try to be better about being here on time.
I had a few comments. Representative Strickland, I was in that same traffic jam apparently on 210 highway, because it took me a while, but I didn't leave Raleigh to leave. But first of all, thank you, commissioners, for putting this together. Thank you. I appreciate Senator Bergen for asking the question. Hindsight's always 20/20. We've been great if we would have done it several months prior when we were proposing and working on the budget. Thank you, Steve, and your staff for this information, but obviously we need the information. There may or may not be other monies. We assume that there's going to be, but if we don't know what they are, we don't have to assume. We don't ask, we don't get. So those are the numbers that we need. Most of you've got my cell number, but in case you don't, it's 910-891-8360. Call me anytime. Probably after 11 o'clock, I'm going to call you back to the next day. But other than that, text me. That seems to be the preferred way of communicating now, but obviously I'm a Harnett County native. Larry and I work very closely together. He's a Johnston County native, but we want to see both of our counties grow. And the way we're going to grow is we've got to have the infrastructure to do that. Not only are houses coming, Johnston County's been more blessed than Harnett with a lot of industry coming in. And we're a little bit jealous of that. We want more industry. So that the way we get that is to try to get the pipes in the ground, so to speak, Steve, so we can attract it. So our office is always available. You may not get us every day of the week now, because we're up there sparingly as needed. So but we will get back in session. But that doesn't mean you don't leave a message on our office phone, but we will call you back. When we're not there, my LA, she works out of her home some days when she knows I'm not going into Raleigh, but we will get in touch with you. Probably 95+% of everything we do is constituent services. So a lot of citizens in the county, they're calling a multitude of different things. Sometimes you can help them, sometimes you can't, but I would say our success rate, completion rate is probably 98 or 99%. The important part is, we can handle some things, but some things are federal we also have staff who's got contact information that can actually reach out to our senators and House members in Washington to try to alleviate opportunities that our citizens have. So we look forward to serving. That's what we're there. It's the people's house, and we're there to serve the people.
Thank you all for those comments. Anyone else have anything? I will say that this PowerPoint, if anybody would like to have it, if you'll get in touch with either myself or Steve, we'll send it to you. We'll be glad to forward you a copy of it. Well, if there's nothing else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn from the Harnett County Board of Commissioners.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Again, thank